What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Creative Director Studio. Remember, Creative Director Studio is the place to stay inspired, stay motivated to take your career to the next level. Okay, Joey, I am super excited to be back in the studio. And today I want to talk about portfolios. So, Joey, I had the opportunity to sit on a portfolio review this past week with the great motion design community, Batch. I highly encourage you all to check out Batch Motion Design Community. Shout out to Raj the Goat, the founder and creator of the Batch community. It's a brilliant community full of motion designers. And I got to look at their portfolios. And I learned a lot. So I thought, Joey, that'd be a great thing for us to kind of dive into today.
Totally. And because of this, Corey, we have put together this video. We're going to share some high level thoughts, but there's way more than we can cover in this video. So we've actually created a resource for you, a portfolio checklist or a guide that's based on what, Corey, you've learned in your career, what I've learned in my career. And you can get that in the description below. So just click that link. You can get way more detail than we're going to cover today, but we do want to cover the high level things in this video, and you can use it along with the guide and really get yourself positioned. Whether you're looking for your first job, your second job, you're trying to get promoted to a director, whatever it is, we're going to touch on the most important things to include. And I'll let you kick it off, Corey.
Okay, so the first big one, and I want to make this point before I dive into that, is we get it. We've been in your shoes. We've often applied to a lot of jobs. We have applied to a lot of jobs, but we've also looked at a lot of portfolios along the way. And so we want to share those lessons learned. So the first big point here is no drive links. As an employer, we're very busy. We're often looking at lots and lots of portfolios. We don't often have time to really dive into a long laundry list of your case studies. And also, honestly, that's not the best way for you to present yourself as an employee or a potential employee. So that leads me into the second one. So today you have to have a website. There's really no excuse to not have a personal website because there's so many free resources out there, and we'll give you a few in the guide. But we want to make sure that you're all presenting yourself in the best way, and often that is through a website. But under a website, there's a lot of key things that you need to think about when putting together your personal website. One big one is think about your overall personal branding. Make sure that there's some consistency in all the channels where you're presenting yourself as a designer. Make sure there's some consistency in your personal brand. Pay attention to that because that's really huge. The other thing is don't be afraid to show off your personality. We're hiring you as an individual, as a person, and we want to know a little bit more about yourself. So think about those about pages. Make sure that they're approachable, and don't be afraid to show your personality. We want to know that you're somebody that's likable, that you'll get along with the staff, and that you're not only able to do the job, but you're able to present yourself, and you don't take yourself too seriously. So focus on the about page. Now, the other thing is how you present the work on your website is very important. And a lot of designers who have a lot of work tend to have thumbnails. So when I look at a thumbnail, I want to make sure that that thumbnail is quick, it's an easy read. Make sure you're paying attention to the design of the thumbnails because that says a lot about you as a designer. It shows that you're able to curate a really good shot that's attractive. It shows that within a small space, you can communicate a lot. It showcases your taste. And I know Joey and I have talked a lot about thumbnail strategies and think it's really, really, really important.
Totally. And Corey, we laugh about this with being YouTube creators as well. Thumbnails are key. You clicked on the thumbnail on this video to get in here. So something lured you in based on our thumbnail. It's also true if you think about, Corey, all the content we consume. So don't overcomplicate this as you're thinking about this portfolio. Go on Netflix, see which, or Hulu, or whatever your streaming service is, and see which key art is grabbing you, and actually take that as a lesson. Just look at a few and think, what's that show about? What's that movie about? What's the mood? What's the tone? We know how to make great designs and great visual experiences. Think about one key piece of art and how you're going to tell that story. And Corey, I love your point about personal branding as well, because this is a way to actually create a harmonious look as well. So you can kind of show the work through your lens as well. So if there's a certain mood and style that you want to embody, you can kind of overlay that in the actual thumbnail or key art as well, which is really cool. But yeah, don't overcomplicate this. Just think about that, your streaming services. We do this all the time. What's grabbing you, and kind of reverse engineer that in the portfolio, because that's how we're looking at it as well when we're going through a lot of portfolios to review. We have to be grabbed very quickly.
Absolutely. And so, related to the thumbnails, a lot of things that we see in portfolios is the need from the designer or motion designer, whoever they are, to show that they can do everything.
Yep.
And honestly, the biggest point we can make around this is focus on your top three really amazing pieces of work, the things that really showcase the kind of person you want to be, the kind of job you want to go after, and make sure that your portfolio is showing just that. Because I've seen this countless times where I'll see three amazing pieces and then two to three really bad ones, or maybe one that's even really bad. And as an employer, that is just the doubt that I need to kind of rule you out and move on to the next portfolio, because
Yeah.
that's the whole point. You don't want to create doubt, right, Joe? You don't want to create any doubt in that employer's mind whether you can do the job that we're hiring you to do, because it's all
Yeah.
risk. The stakes are
Yeah.
often, pretty big.
Yeah, and one note there as well. Keep in mind in the interview process, you are going to get a chance to hopefully advance if you grab people in the 3 or 4 pieces or whatever you do in the beginning. When you get called in for the discussion, now you've built trust with the hiring manager, whomever you is reviewing your portfolio, and now you can have a conversation, and they may be asking you, "Show me more, show me
Yeah.
something else." It's way better to reveal some of these less exciting pieces then because you can frame it. You can frame it in a way so they understand what to expect and they're able to see the silver lining is interviewing you wants to see. So remember, they're going to be filing that away in their mind. If they don't see everything in the portfolio, it's not a deal breaker. Corey, I can't remember any time where I've ever, if I've been interested in what you've shown me, I'm not going to, you know, stop from asking for
Yeah.
more in an interview.
But the big thing about a website also is it's your opportunity to really show some focus and really think about who you are as an individual. If you're a designer, make sure that comes through really clear. And if this is a design portfolio, focus on those key things about the jobs you want. But if it's like a motion design portfolio, one of the things that this community that I seen is there was a lot of work, but there wasn't many motion reels. And I think that as you're coming up in your career, knowing how to curate your best pieces into one succinct reel is really important. So for those motion designers listening, try to get a reel up and make sure that reel is focused on your top pieces, and make sure that there's some overall harmony in the reel. Make sure there's nice flow in the editing, and that again, your personal brand that is reflected on your website and all your other channels. Make sure that comes through as well.
And Corey, there's one more thing that I want to leave people with that's more of a high level approach to how you're thinking about your portfolio. And this is important about going from a junior designer position all the way up to a senior creative director or higher. That's the trajectory that we talk about on this channel. And the portfolio presentation is a key part of that journey, and it needs to look different at each step. And this is something, Corey, that we've talked about in a previous video, which we can share here, which is going from that doer mindset to the leader mindset. And that's something that sometimes designers or younger creatives or people that are just at a lower position don't remember when they're trying to
Yeah.
advance. And that can hold you back. And the first step is presenting yourself in the right way in the portfolio. So the same pieces of work can be in there. They just need to be positioned differently. So you need to come across as a leader more than just a doer, especially if you're trying to advance to a director level position or higher. So art director or anything above that, your portfolio should look very different than it would look like if you're just trying to get your first design job. So I'll give people just one example of what that might mean. So you mentioned, Corey, on the website, we're looking at process and things like
Hmm.
that. That's important. And when you're doing the work and you're trying to get a design position, us as hiring managers, we want to know what you did.
Yeah.
We want expect you to be in the apps, clicking buttons and working in Adobe products and understanding in granular detail what you can do. That is less important the higher you go in the position. So you need to start framing it when you're trying to go for director level positions in more of here's how I led the team to do this. Here's how I presented it to the client, talking a lot more about what the work produced and also how you created consensus and collaboration on your team and how you sold an idea and things of that nature. So just think about your talking points there and take the same piece of work, but you can reframe it. And then, Corey, one note, final note there that I think really was stood out to me when I first did this, with like going to for higher positions, which is you can present yourself in a way where you didn't do all of the work. So it's very
Hmm.
common in a portfolio for a more senior level position to say, I only did 50% of this work, or here's the group of people that worked on this, so that the hiring manager like me or you, Corey, we understand that the person didn't do all the work, and that's okay. It's more about them having brought together the idea and representing it as a leader, as a director, as a team leader, or whatever that is. So that's something that may not feel comfortable, especially if you've been doing your portfolios as just you as a doer for a while. But it's very important because, Corey, we've reviewed these,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And you come across how you present yourself, and if you present yourself as a doer and not a leader, then you're probably not going to be a great candidate for that job.
Absolutely. And that's a really great point. So, like we
The
said,
harsh truth.
it is the harsh truth. Like those case studies are really important. And that's often your opportunity to really showcase what you're
Yeah.
capable of doing, who did what, and just be very clear. And so, we'd love to see in portfolio sites a lot more case studies and less just showcases of all the pretty shots, because we have places for that. Dribble, Behance, and all those places are great to do that, but your website really should be the best reflection of who you are as a person and your capabilities. And so we have, like Joey mentioned, we've got a great portfolio checklist for you all, and we think that this is going to really allow you to make sure that you're presenting yourself in the best way, and that you're actually able to start leveling up and knowing when you need to make those shifts in your career, going from director to designer, the more tactical jobs. So before we end here, we want you to go ahead and like and subscribe, because we got a lot of great new content coming, and we don't want you to miss that. So hit that bell.